We're going to be talking about why you should DIY your own home CCTV. My name is Les. I'm a fairly recent addition here as a product specialist for Synology. As I'm so new, I just want to take the opportunity to say Naz to meet you Naz. If you don't get on with my humour, fill out the feedback form at the end. We do read every single bit, but I'll move on. This week, we'll be talking about the best ways to save a bit of money while increasing your privacy. I'll cover how easy and intuitive it is to set up our systems. And I'm also going to show off a few of the hidden gems, things that our technology allows you to do. Now, I do just want to take a moment and premise this by saying, look, this is going to be covering home CCTV surveillance. We're not going to be going into any of the deep analytics and some of the business tools. If we included everything in one webinar, I'd have you here for several hours. So please look out for other CCTV focused webinars in the future, which will cover those features. By all means, send them through as questions, though. If we don't cover them sort of live, we can come back with some more information. So I'll start off with a bit of a hyperbolic question, but it is quite poignant, and I'll tell you why in a second. Would you buy into the technology if you realized it might stop protecting your family after 3 years? And this is poignant because it's something that is starting to happen more and more. I mentioned Arlo here, but other companies are also sort of investigating these kind of measures, where when you buy a device, an Internet of Things or IoT device that sits on your network, we're talking things like, smart lighting, digital assistants, and IP cameras. They have a finite time where the manufacturers will be producing security updates and producing other firmware updates. And at the end of life cycles, it has been known that features have been taken away as the developers no longer want to support the features. This is even more of an issue when you consider something I must admit I didn't consider myself until I sat down to plan this webinar, the security side of these updates. You all know that you get regular Windows updates which apply sort of security changes, etc., and the recent push from Windows 10 to Windows 11 that some of us are still going through. After the life cycle of a device, especially if it's an internet-facing device for a cloud-based system, you run the risk of there being sort of security vulnerabilities leading to horror stories like this one, where a mum was sickened to her stomach after hearing a creepy man voice coming out of her baby monitor and speaking to her toddler in the night. Again, these sort of issues when firmware updates are stopped, they're always a problem, but with a system that's all internal to your home network, where it isn't cloud reliant, at least you can lock it down so that you'd have to get onto your network. It makes it a less attractive target for hackers. But anyway, onto a lighter note. As I said, recently new to Synology, I've actually now I've passed probation, moved to be closer to the office, and as I run a music studio out of my home, and I want to protect my family as much as anybody else, I thought I'd have a look at the kit that we offered, and I'd set up a solution for myself. So my project was to set up a one-stop shop for surveillance, where I wanted to be able to use a mix of our cameras, feature-rich cameras for outside, and a couple of cheaper ones inside. I wanted to be able to manage everything through our surveillance station suite. And I wanted to be able to view it either from a computer anywhere in the world, or more likely from the office, or from my phone with the DS camera app. What was also quite attractive when I started playing with it is I realized if I needed to see some footage on my phone in a sort of larger screen, I could quickly AirPlay that to the screen in the office. I could still use the two-way audio as made popular by things like the Ring doorbell if I need to sort of leave instructions for anybody delivering anything to me. And I've got a smart search so that I can just quickly from a UI flick to any of the cameras in my house, and I can logically see which camera is which from where they are on the map. So I'm cutting ahead a little bit because I'll show you how to set up this map in a little while. But the first part of my plan, I sort of mapped up where my cameras were going to go. I was going to have 2 cameras outside and 2 cameras inside. So the outdoor cameras, I wanted to be able to take advantage of some of the Synology analytics that they provide. The internal cameras, if you manage to get inside the home, I didn't need all of those features, so I just went with cheaper options. And I started by adding a camera. which is really a 60-second task. Bear with me, by the way. As I said before we started, these are pre-recorded just in case of any technical issues. So if it's not exactly at the same pace as I'm going through, bear with us. We're doing the best that we can to keep it consistent. But I go into surveillance station, and to add a camera, it's just as simple as going into IP camera. You can see there's the 2 outdoor cameras in there already, but I'm just going to go to add. And at this point, it will scan my home network looking for cameras that it can detect. I'm going to select the iPox camera. I'm going to go to next. Just quickly, you'll be able to sort of see the thumbnail. Hey, yep, that's the right camera. And with just the quick setup rules, I'll review those just to make sure that they all look sensible to me, but everything you need to get up and running is already there. And I click done, and you see that my 3rd camera is now listed. Because it was because this was a demo camera, I'm just going to go in quickly. I don't want this one to keep data for 30 days. I'm just getting get a couple of days worth of recordings out of it. So to change the schedule, I'm just going to go to edit. By the way, thoroughly recommend a new camera. First thing you do, change the security settings on it. You can never be too secure. But I'm just going to go into video, just check that the stream settings, the resolution is correct. And I'm going to go into recording, and I'm going to change the schedule from keeping for 30 days to 3 days. A new camera setup and a few features changed, less than a minute. Now, one thing I just want to point out at this junction, because we do get a few tickets about this, more often with third-party cameras, and especially if people have bought second-hand cameras to save a little bit of money. If at first you can't find the camera in that screen where it looks through the network and detects it, it might have an existing IP address saved to it, and that IP address might not be within the range that your network is looking at. So most cameras have a reset button. On ours, it's on the bottom. Press the reset button, push it back into DHCP mode where it'll assign its own IP address. And that solves the most common problem that we have with the setups of these devices. Okay, so I'll move on with the project as I had it. And I will show you in the next step how I set the recording schedule and motion detection. And the reason that we do this is to reduce the amount of data that you need to have to store all of the footage. I don't need to keep 24/7 365 footage for my cameras. I want particular events, things that are of note, and I want them for a period of 30 days is the default that we set. But you can change that to whatever you would like for yourself. Some people 60, some people just want a week. And the other thing, I'll show you how to set up that live map as a way of flicking between cameras, which is, again, nice and easy to do. So starting again from the IP camera menu where we were before, I'm going to select my camera. Bear with me. Oh, I think the footage is paused. There we go. I am going to select my camera. I'm going to go to edit. And then under the recording tab, if I go to schedule, you can see a nice, easy to understand 7-day split where you can see at the moment it's set to continuously record, but no one should really be moving around after around about 10 o'clock at night. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag out from about 10 o'clock at night till around about 7:55 when I roll out of bed 5 minutes before my 8 o'clock shift. Oh God, I love working from home. During those hours, it won't be recording constantly, but if anyone moves in front of one of the cameras, it will detect it and it will start recording for the duration that there's motion, a little bit before, after rather. Again, just cycling through the rest of the settings, making sure that there are no other changes that I wouldn't have wanted. All of the defaults, the default is to record in the highest quality. Once I was happy that everything was correct, I just saved that plan, and that's already in place. Once all of the cameras were set up and we're syncing the recordings that I wanted without taking up excess space, The next stage was just to add a nice UI function to it, the map page like I demonstrated at the beginning. And that was as simple as going into the maps tool over here. When that loads, by default, it will show you where you are on the map, or at least where the cameras are on the map. But I want something more useful than that. So I'm going to click on image maps and add image, just give it a name. Now, I couldn't catch this in the recorder, but when I click browse, it just opens a Windows Explorer page. I just went to the downloads and I picked the image that I saved from Rightmove when I purchased the place, which you'll see it brings up here. I can just hit save. And there we have the picture of my wonderful house. I'm just going to go to edit here on the right. And you can see on the left, it's populated it with my cameras. And I can just click and drag them into place. One for the front door. By the way, you can view the footage in real time from this menu and pretty much anywhere else where you'd encounter the cameras. There's usually an option to be able to view them from wherever you are, just in case an event comes up and you want to. I dragged out the back camera there, and then one for the foyer. And I can view them and adjust them as I go. I can change where the camera is actually pointing, so eventually that's going to go outside. I can change the viewing angle that the camera supports. In fact, the one I got in the living room is a PTZ camera, so it can be moved. So I can put that as a circle to represent that I can actually rotate that 360 degrees, or if you have one of those sort of ceiling cameras. And now when I go into my map center, well, when I go into view it either on the phone or from the web, I have the individual cameras listed, or I can also go into the map view and click on any of the cameras from there to quickly hop into that camera. After I've achieved that, I was pretty much set up. I mean, on the software side of things, it took me probably about 45 minutes to get everything, including the apps on my phone, set up. So not very long at all. I left it for a couple of days to just build up a couple of recordings. And what I'll do is I'll show you now how to access those if you need them, and just a little bit more of a breakdown of the default settings and what's available to more quickly access them. So start off here by going into the recording folder where it will save all of the footage that it records. And by default, your recording list will just be an unfiltered list of all of the files that you've got. I'll go into more detail on people and vehicles in a second, but recordings for people events and vehicle events. See, there's quite a few of those. Just motion detection. It's surprising how often that gets triggered outside your house. And also based on the default rules and rules that you can tweak, it will bookmark certain events for you. So if there's particular events that you're interested in, you can configure the system to bookmark those for you. If you want to grab a video either as evidence or just because something funny happened, you want it for TikTok, from any of these menus, you just select the video, select the ellipsis, which is the little 3 dot thing, and then just go to save. I'll download that for you, and you can view that on your computer. It's exactly the same on the DS Cam app on the phone, only it will save it to the default save location on your phone. Just went back to this one, wanted to put a lot more detail in a follow-up video. So sorry, it's not all stitched together. But I'm going to go in the other way. If you don't have a shortcut for something, you can access it from the main menu at the top. Just click and drag it to add it to the desktop. But I went into the recordings that way this time. And if I go into the people and vehicles quickly, I didn't have to set this up. This is just by default. The system can differentiate between people passing the home and vehicles. So if you're looking for a particular event, you can filter by those, which will, drastically reduce the number of. You can see there's over 1,000 vehicles that have been detected there. If your house sort of faces a busy street, this is going to save you a lot of time in looking for the footage that you need. Lastly, for a little bit of fun, the living room camera, as I said, is a PTZ camera. That's one of the cameras for those who haven't heard of PTZ, where I can hop onto it, I can control it, and I can rotate it 360 degrees. I had a friend come over on the Sunday and asked to borrow the Xbox. He volunteered to take part in this quick little demo where I sent him to go and grab it. And as you'll be able to see in a minute, you'll start to see a little bit of motion, which sent me an alert to let me know that motion had been detected in my living room. I was able to hop onto that camera, and then in real time, I was able to control that to get a little bit more footage and catch him in the act. So again, I just want to thank Mr. Paul Dinsdale for volunteering in that video. Yeah, very useful feature. You get the alert and you can quickly hop onto the cameras. And this also works, of course, from the mobile to be able to control them in real time and get a little bit more footage. One other thing, when it was Monday, I knew I was going to go back into the office. I usually work from home, but sometimes I need to go into the office, and I don't actually use the Wi-Fi. So thinking about it, I thought just to save myself a little bit of my 4G plan, and also because 4G is perhaps not the fastest to connect sometimes, I just adjust the stream quality when I'm viewing remotely to save on that data plan and make the cameras load a little bit more quickly. And again, this is something that was very quick and easy to set up. As you see here, I'm going to go back into the cameras. This time I'm going to access them through the Motion Center, but you can, as I demonstrated before, do it through the IP camera headings. I'm going to select the camera, and I'm going to go to Edit. And then once that loads, I'm going to go to the live view setting. And there's two settings that I can choose. Firstly, I'm going to enable dynamic stream. I'm going to change mobile quality to default to 1080p. And I'm also going to enable to automatically adjust the stream profile to the display size. What this does, when I access it from my phone, it's in a lower resolution. If I was to log on from my work PC with a lower resolution monitor, again, it's going to stream it in a lower resolution. The footage itself is still at the default that you set, which in my case and by default will be the highest that the camera supports. So you have that high definition footage there if you need to provide it for evidence. But if you're just viewing it remotely, we can display it a little bit faster and save on data plans by streaming it in a different format that's a bit faster to load. And that was it, really. That was the end of my project. As I said, the whole thing, including the little bit of stream processing at the end, the whole thing took me less than an hour to set up, other than the bit where I was up on a ladder outside putting cameras up. That was traumatic, but we can't sort of hold that to the kit standard. What I'll do now is I'll go over a few of the hidden gems that our tech covers, things that I found and quite appreciated. First one, yes, I did mention this before, but it does support two-way audio speaker for any cameras that do support it. So this is limited, of course. You'd need to buy a camera that does have a speaker and a microphone built into it. But supposing you have one of those, directly through the same DS camera app that I use to monitor normally, I can connect to that in the same way as you would, as made famous, as I said, by the Ring doorbell, and I can talk to the Amazon guy and tell him to leave it behind the bin. The other feature, and I really do like this one, I thought this was really cool, is you can repurpose an old phone to act as a camera. And you can do this with as many phones as you have licenses to use. Just quickly, each of our devices has a number of default licenses on it. I think for most of them it's 4. Our cameras don't count towards that licensing boundary, but you could have up to 4 old phones acting as full CCTV cameras. And it's really easy to set up. The first step is either go looking for the live camera app in the iOS and Android store. It's the one with this icon that is produced by Synology, so you make sure you get the right one, or you can scan these QR codes I'll try and make available after the demonstration. Once you've installed the app, again, apologies, I couldn't get video from phones, so I'm going to go through with slides, but you'll be surprised how easy this is. You get this menu to sign into the live cam app, where you'll just need to put in the same connection IDs that you'd use to access your Synology NAS remotely anywhere. So the quick connect ID, your username and password. Once you put in those details, it opens up the camera. It tells you to put it into position, and when it's in position, you click that play button. That's it. You now have another camera that didn't cost you anything, that's added to your CCTV environment. Simple as that. As long as the old phone that you're using is still able to get onto the iOS and or Android store, and isn't so old that you know, it's going to struggle to run the software, that easy to set up. Another really cool feature is our home mode. I spoke a little bit earlier about the notifications for when people are moving around, for when motion detection is on. It's a great feature, but it can also be irritating if I nip home and I end up generating my own sort of notifications that someone's moving around, when really it's just me nipping home to grab a sandwich or something. So we have what we call two settings within home mode, one of which we call geofencing, the other being scheduling, and I'll show you how both of those work and how to set those up. Again, it's all very, very easy. With geofencing, the security system will know when you're home, and it will still be recording. You can still record the events, but it won't send through notifications to your phone or to your email, because you know that there's somebody moving, it's you. The first way to achieve it is through scheduling, which I'll demonstrate here. Again, going in via the main menu, but you can click and drag onto the desktop if you're going to use this more often. I'm going to go to home mode. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to manually enable home mode. And I'm going to go into scheduling. You'll see the scheduling is very similar to the individual camera scheduling. The scheduling here will override the settings on the individual cameras when home mode is enabled. So I figure I'm usually home, you know, around about 5 in the evening until around about sort of 9:30. So that's sufficient for the schedule of when I want it to automatically switch on. And I can then tailor individual settings. I can change the recording settings. I can change which cameras that it's true for. So if I don't want to change the scheduling on my front door camera during these hours, then that's absolutely fine. I can exclude those. I can also change the recording schedules again for how it actually behaves. So this is, you know, this is the actual recording schedule. So I'm setting this to mirror what I had on the individual cameras. So even when it's true, it will still be detecting motion events. But I decided there's something waking me up in the morning. So I thought for between sort of 6:30 and 9:30, I put a people and vehicle detection event on. I can go through on an individual event level and change the way that while home mode is enabled, that it deals with the notifications. I can even set a different default so that I could change it to, for example, display the phone at full resolution when I'm from home, when I'm in home mode, because I'm on the home Wi-Fi. What makes it a lot more powerful, though, is when you link it with a device such as your mobile phone or a tablet, and it can actually automatically enable it without scheduling, based on the fact that that device is in the same region as your security system. To do that, you get the DS Cam app. That is exactly the same Cam app that I use for viewing and managing the system normally. It is the partner app, and as you can see, it's the same login UI. Once I'm in the app, I just go to the main menu and I select home mode. I can manually toggle it, but that's a bit too much manual work for me. So I tap on auto switch, which gives me two options. The two options are to do it via Wi-Fi or to do it via GPS assistance. Now, just break down what the difference is. On the Wi-Fi, if it's using Wi-Fi, then it will listen for when your phone connects to the Wi-Fi that you have at home. And when it sees that your phone is connected to your home Wi-Fi, it knows that you're home and enables it that way. You can also, if you don't connect the device that you want to use for geofencing to your Wi-Fi, you can do it via GPS, where you just you just set the home location. It's detected here, the office address, and if you enable GPS assist, when it detects that your connected device is at the same address as the location listed here, then it will automatically enable home mode. Of course, you'd need to have GPS settings switched on your phone and allowed for the app for that to function. One more thing, you can never have too much security, as I always say. So while everything that we've shown so far can be controlled from within your own network, what we like to call private cloud, the NAS drive you can connect to from the internet, but it is your kit on your premises that you own end to end. There is always the concern, what happens if somebody breaks in and then takes the footage away with them? For that, we have CT Surveillance, which is our cloud-based backup platform. It encrypts the footage from end to end. So before it leaves the house, it's encrypted that nobody can snoop on it. And all the way back down to when you open up the files, can view it on your end, it's encrypted back. It supports all of the extended cameras in addition to our own. Because it only records the events, it's quite affordable, but we'll move on to pricing in a moment, at least cloud pricing. Now that I've shown off all of the fancy things that the kit can do, the question is it affordable for everybody? So let's break that down. And I'll start with our competitor, with one of our competitors, Arlo, who I mentioned before. I wanted to see how we would break down compared to them when it came to pricing for a simple system. So I compared a 4-camera system using the Arlo platform, making use of 2 of their internal, 2 of their external cameras, the smart hub to allow transfer of their data to the cloud, and their monthly rate for cloud storage. As I look through, breaking it down, 2 indoor cameras comes to around about 240, plus 2 of their outdoor cameras at 479.80. The smart hub there around 180, and cloud storage adds up for a year to around about £118.80. Overall, spread over the duration of a year, you're looking at £1,017.40. How could I stack up to that? So in my basket, first I put in 2 of our BC500 cameras. These support all of the rich features, things like facial recognition technology, the differentiation between people and cars, etc. If I ever needed any of the additional features, those were going to be good to go. I thought I'd go with those, take advantage of the staff discount to protect the front and back of my house. Inside, I went with something a little bit cheaper. I was able to find a Reolink E1 Pro on Amazon, discounted at the moment, but the standard price is around about £55.99. Okay, it's cheating, but we're going to add a smartphone as my 4th camera, and that cost me absolutely nothing because it was kit that I already owned. Now, to run this kit, I needed a NAS drive itself. With 4 cameras running at 1080p for 30 days, I realized I only really needed a 1-bay system. The DS120J NAS, it's an entry-level product. It's a perfectly powerful for the task product. And I found one of those at £92.44 after VAT. And finally, didn't want to go cheap on the hard drives. I wanted to get CCTV specialist hard drives, so I went with 8 terabytes Seagate Skyhawks, and that was £164.28. In total, my project cost me £772.71. So really, at a glance, it stacks up quite well. We thought it was unfair, really, to compare a 4-camera Arlo solution to a 3-camera plus spare Synology one. So even accounting for another aftermarket camera, we still work out in a first year around about £200 cheaper. And really, the cloud element is worth considering as a monthly cost. So in that first year, as I said, we work out around about £200 cheaper. But bear in mind, through the 3-year life cycle of that product, the cost will mount up. So over year 2 and year 3, eventually the pricing point in the Synology kit, you own it, that is your kit. It's going to stay there. There are no extra costs involved unless you want the C2 platform. The price point stays the same, but with a cloud-based solution, you are paying over the year. So by year 3, it's added up to nearly, just over 1,250. Again, for peace of mind, if you want it, the cloud option is still there. We price it slightly differently. Again, it's encrypted end to end, and it supports not just our own cameras, but all of the supported manufacturer cameras that you might want to use with the kit. And for a home system, I would say you only need the basic, which works out at, again, our pricing online is in euros, but roughly converting to around about £10, the same price point for a year per camera. So that's going to work out at, for my implementation, that's going to work out at, an extra £40 a year. So, the solution that I came up with would have been £810 with this for the year. Bear in mind, the way that we're able to provide this cheap pricing is because we're only recording the events. All of the footage, everything is stored on your NAS drive that you can access at any time. We don't need to store that in the cloud. Once you store it up in the cloud, that is just a backup. If somebody tampers with your device, you can go and grab that within 7 days. In addition, we also offer you a much wider range of cameras. We have over 8,300 cameras that are supported. This includes cameras with all kinds of features that, I'll be honest with you, some of them even I probably don't know about. Your ceiling sort of 360 fisheye cameras, infrared cameras, doorbell style cameras. We got a question about that. Yes, we do support a couple of those. So there will definitely be something that fits your need. You simply need a Synology drive to set up as the base unit. So really, I mentioned the flagship entry-level DS120J model is perfectly capable of running a surveillance system for 4 cameras. That's 4 cameras, even if they were recording, 24/7 in 1080p for 30 days. You're still going to have enough space with an 8 terabyte hard drive in there for that to be the only kit that the only NAS kit that you need. If you wanted, and again, if you have an existing Synology NAS drive, maybe you've got sort of like 5-6 terabytes free. There is on our website, and I could provide linking for this. There's a calculator which will tell you roughly how much storage that you need. So if you've already got the NAS drive and you think, yeah, maybe I could do with a couple of cheaper third-party cameras, you can probably set up with the motion detection settings, saving you space and not recording 24/7. You can probably set up something with the kit that you've already got out of the box. If you've got a higher budget though, and you do want a little bit more security for your home, or you want a few of the advanced features, other units like the DVA1622 have got AI-powered features on board. These tools allow features like facial recognition. Now, to differentiate that between people detection, facial recognition means that it will know if it's you or somebody else in your house. It can also tell the difference between people and animals for motion detection events. There's things like license plate recognition. So if somebody pulls up in your driveway and it's not you, it can alert you to those kind of conditions. But those units are a bit more powerful and therefore a little bit pricier. Before I close this out, I do just want to have a quick overview that there is CCTV legislation in place. If you do install a CCTV technology in your home, you are obligated to tell people that you are using recording equipment. You are required to regularly automatically delete the footage. The schedule that I set, the default is 30 days. That already meets the compliance there. Sorry, I missed one. In the circumstance that someone's asked to provide the recording, because it's a Synology NAS, in the same way as you can with our NAS technology, you can easily create a shared link to send the footage to anybody if you need to. And I also demonstrated how easy it is to save it if you wanted to provide it in another means. It's easy through the same record menu. I demoed easier to delete recordings if this is requested. And again, you can quickly, using the DS Live Cam app, switch off or move the camera to not be covering anybody if that's requested.